Welcome to the Spiritual Download. This is a channel for advanced spiritual journeys and advanced human development. That's a big task for one channel, but since this isn't my job and this is my hobby, this is what I think about all the time anyways, is how to be permanently happy and how to be our truest selves as humans and as just you. So I'm back from northern Michigan. I'm gonna have to show some photos on another video. I'm back in northern Wisconsin, wanting to shoot a video that I've been thinking about for a long time for shooting, which is my biggest spiritual insight that I can give you, because it's basically my philosophy of life, which is to say yes to life. All that life offers, you never deny anything. It's completely inclusive. It's actually radically inclusive, and you are extremely open-minded towards all that life offers, all that existence offers. So not just life, but what about when you die? And what comes next for your subjective awareness? You don't know what's going to happen. It could be heaven, it could be bleak nothingness, it could be great blissful nothingness. You could merge one with God. It's complete union. Maybe Jesus comes to you in your subjective awareness. But these are things that can happen to you no matter whether you're living or dying. But right now we're experiencing life, and that's kind of what this is. When you're hiking in the North Woods, as I am, I'm saying yes to all possibilities is kind of my philosophy of life. And it's different than having one possible viewpoint, which would be extremely exclusive. An exclusive viewpoint would be what's called Neoadvaita. What that means is where you believe that everything is oneness, but that's it. You don't see that, for example, a plant is a plant. So I've talked about recently that plants are not plants, and that if I say a plant, sprouts in the spring, I said that that's half true. And the half part is that yes, a plant is not a plant, because everything is just shared amongst the oneness of all things. However, also, yes, I would say a plant is a plant, because that's what we humans experience. So complete open-mindedness and complete open to saying yes to life is you are accepting the paradox that yes, everything is one and everything is deeply the same, but also, yes, we are all unique, we are all different, and that is actually necessary for life to be one, is that we all need to be our separate, beautiful selves that we are, that have been created by a perfection. Namely, you can call that God, you can call that divine intelligence, or you could just call that the universe. But this perfection is what has created both the realm of separate things, but also the realm of complete oneness. That's very esoteric, very kind of philosophical, but let's kind of give an example. So in college, if you go to a pretty good college, open-minded college, maybe a liberal arts college, for example, that I went to Gustavus in St. Peter, Minnesota. One of the main things that I learned throughout my 4 years, I studied philosophy and political science. One of the main things I discovered was everything is interconnected. So no matter if you study economics, biology, physics, really any subject, communications, pre-med, pre-law, all of that, if you study it well, you'll start to learn that everything is interconnected, that there is this beautiful system. This is called systems thinking, where you have a system that is greater than any one person's mind, one person's possible way of thinking or potential of thinking. And the system is what is creating like an economy, or it's creating an ecosystem. So like here we have an ecosystem of coniferous trees, which would be pine trees, which would be white pine trees, red pine trees, jack pines. This is called a coniferous forest. So this is its own ecosystem. But also capitalism is a system, socialism is a system, democracy is a system. So these systems are the main things that you would study as if you're in a liberal arts college. And that, if you study it long enough, you might start to argue or see that there actually aren't things in life, that it's all just oneness, or it's all non-duality, it's all God, or it's all just atoms, it's all just math. Okay, this is called fundamentalism. So you can be a scientific fundamentalist and say that all things are just atoms. You can be a biological fundamentalist and say all things are just genetics, or DNA, or cells, molecules. You could be a capitalistic fundamentalist, where you say that really all human activity boils down to capitalism and money. You could be a Christian fundamentalist, which that's not as open to the idea of oneness, but that's pretty obvious to be kind of a religious fundamentalist. But any subject that you major in, like philosophy or political science, like I did, you could fall in this rabbit hole that you'll never leave, called Neoadvaita, which means that you see that everything is oneness, and you're unwilling to accept the fact, or you're unwilling to accept the paradox that things are both oneness and themselves. That yes, that pine tree is just made of cells, but you're saying just, and I don't really like that word because it's not open to the idea that the pine tree is a pine tree and it's oneness. So oneness is, maybe you could call that the ultimate truth of things. However, to human beings, because we are human beings, we perceive ourselves as human beings. No matter how enlightened, quote unquote, enlightened that you feel you are a human being that perceives separate things, that perceives separateness and individuality. You even perceive yourself as yourself. You perceive that there's the inside world of my psychology, and there's the outside world of things like trees and other people and dogs and things like this. Okay, one of my favorite influences on my way of thinking is Facundo Cabral, and if he's from he was from Argentina. When I was studying Spanish down in Ecuador, I would listen to his talks all of the time. And Facundo Cabral really talked about saying yes to life. That if you want to know God, you have to be able to see God, which is oneness, in the separate things that are the vehicles for God. Okay, so he gives the example. What are some beautiful things? Well, like eating Mexican tacos. Mexican tacos are delicious, and if you do it with an open mind and an open heart, you might be able to see or sense God in that experience of eating Mexican tacos. Or watching Brazilian soccer players, and you watch the way that they pass the ball or dribble a ball, or you see that, this is why I love soccer, is it's a beautiful system. And soccer celebrates the beauty of the human body, the beauty of humans manipulating or taking advantage of or utilizing their brains and their bodies to create something extremely unique. Like, even making a soccer field is amazing, but also creating a game on it that is a system itself. Like I said, this is when you become a little bit more aware of systems thinking, you no longer see soccer as two teams playing to win. You see soccer as an art form that celebrates a beautiful system. Like if you imagine the coach thinking of a way of winning the game or scoring goals, that they're creating a system that is so complex that it requires 11 people to create the system, right? You yourself can't create a soccer game. It requires 22 players or even more to create this art form that we call soccer. And in my opinion, that's an extremely beautiful thing. And that's why I love soccer so much. And it's not just that, it's also the stadium. So I think soccer celebrates the human. It celebrates also kind of the intelligence of humans, but also that there is an intelligence that's even greater than any one individual. Namely that a system, how can a system be so intelligent that one human being can't make it? It's possible that something greater than a human is actually the artist of that system. And that's why I think it's extremely beautiful to think about the possibility that there is a creator or an artist behind a lot of these like ecosystems and other sorts of human systems, or a planet or a solar system, that there's something behind that constantly creating things. And so that's why, and because there is something or a non-thing that is so great creating all of these things, why would you say that something is bad? Or why would you be exclusive to something or exclude things out of your life philosophy? Like if you don't like, for example, hiking like I do, right? Because I love hiking so much, I sometimes as a human I judge people who don't like hiking. Because for me, I'm like, there's so many like beautiful things and things that are created by God that you can experience by hiking. You can experience the intelligence of nature. You can experience your limitations as a human being. One of the main things that I don't like about cities, even though I love cities because cities are also this beautiful system, like if you drive by a downtown, you can become aware of the fact that like a city is similar to like an ant colony that needs more than one person to create. So it's actually a multiplied consciousness that is more than yourself, more than your own consciousness. So it's literally, you can't understand the complexity that goes into creating a city, yet we just drive by the downtown and don't even think about it because we're thinking about my next meal, or why didn't work go so well? You have all of these thoughts in your head that are kind of blinding you from seeing the constant divine intelligence that's around you all the time. So that's why I love cities. But also, what I don't like about cities is that the human being shields themselves from nature. And when you do that, you domesticate yourself almost, and that you see yourself as like unlimited when you do that because you think that you can control nature. Okay, it's pretty obvious that when you see natural disasters on TV, for example, that humans can't control nature ultimately. Nature has the last say. Nature is more powerful than human beings. Okay, and that's what I like to know for certain, is that there is something greater, there's an intelligence or a creation out there that's greater than ourselves, and that we are a part of it rather than the reverse, that like nature is a part of us, right? A lot of Christians have this viewpoint that it's in the Old Testament that says, nature is part of the dominion for humans. I can't remember the line right now, but man has dominion over the earth, as it says in the Old Testament. However, so that leads to the philosophy that humans can or even should dominate nature, which I'm very, very skeptical of. I even kind of despise that mentality, because I prefer to see it as a gigantic, beautiful system that I want to serve, because I'm a small, minute part of that. However, simultaneously, that's a whole rabbit hole to see that I'm not important in the universe. The universe is so big that I don't even matter. That's part of the equation. The other part of the equation is, if it weren't for me being myself, me doing my things, that the universe would also not be itself. Because the universe began with everything included, right? It just stretched out, it exploded, or it stretched out to become all these separate things. So it started from the oneness of the Big Bang, or even before that, it was just potential. It was nothingness, but it had complete potential to be anything at all. And the earth is one of these possibilities that the everythingness could be, if that makes sense. Like, earth itself is not everything. There are an infinite amount of possibilities that, God could be, or whatever that potential to be something is. But the earth has all of these beautiful things that include human beings, and for you to be yourself. So that's why there really is no separation between yourself and the earth, yourself and other animals. But the earth needs you to be you. The universe needs you to be you. Otherwise, none of this would happen. None of these somethings and things and people, cats and dogs and planets, never would have happened. Because it was all part of the equation, right? For everything to exist, everything needs to exist. If that probably doesn't make sense, but all things need to exist inside the equation of all, or everything, or infinity. So that's why there really is no separation between you and infinity, you and the universe. But you can get lost inside of the mentality that the universe is all there is, and that human beings are just illusion or Maya, or the world of this world of separateness doesn't really matter. That's something that is short-sighted. Saying yes to life is allowing the sad things in, allowing the difficult things into your heart, allowing your shadow. Okay, so I had a comment on another video about how do I heal my shadow. Well, actually, you can't ever heal your shadow. You just have to be your shadow. You have to realize that your shadow is you. So you have to let it free, or you have to begin to see that it is you and stop judging it. See, when you judge things, you're saying no to life. But saying yes to life is admitting that humans aren't perfect, that you aren't perfect. We want to see that we want to believe that we are perfect, but that's not our nature. Human beings aren't meant to be perfect. We're meant to be imperfect, because God is perfect. God already knows himself or itself as perfection. But to be everything, God needs to experience himself or herself as an imperfect being called human beings or animals or plants. So your role in the universe is to be an imperfect human being that has a shadow, that needs to be open to the fact of your true identity as a human. So if you have a really deep meditation, you allow that into your heart and you accept it. If you have a really scary near-death experience, you let that into your heart and you kind of roll with it and you accept it as a part of yourself. If you're sick and really sick and you go into the hospital, you see it as a part of your experience as being an imperfect being, but also a being that can die and end, but also know that you aren't ultimately that being or that human that dies or that terminates, that you are something greater, even though you also are that human body that can decay and become the earth, right? Because ultimately, that's why I put the video out there, We Are Soil, is that ultimately your body is just this, is earth. And you're giving your body to the rest of the universe, or the rest of the earth, eventually. And that's why it's all really just one soul on earth here. But yes, also we are all individuals as well, and accepting in our heart all that we are. And the only way that you can do that is by saying yes to all events that happen to you. Any nightmare that happens, you are open to it. Any person that enters your life that you might hate. So you might have a coworker that you just can't stand the way that they talk. You can't stand the fact that they're Republican. You don't like that they vote for Hillary Clinton, or you don't like that your family doesn't like hiking. You don't like that your uncle doesn't recycle. You don't like that your dog doesn't go pee or poop when you want her to. Okay, all of these things we want to exclude from life, because we don't believe that ultimately everything is perfect. So we want to blame things for not being the way that we believe they should be. So as you begin to say yes to all things, begin to see that you don't need the word should or shouldn't. I have a video on this as well, but should and shouldn't excludes events and people and things from your life. You're trying to say that I don't need this and I don't need that. But in reality, you are the one that needs to bend and change and adapt to the moment. Not the moment needs to adapt to your expectations for the moment. So your expectations need to be that whatever happens was meant to happen, or that whatever happens ultimately already has happened. Right? Everything is written by God, as the Muslims and the Sufis say. It is written, meaning that anything that happened, or anything that is happening, or anything that will happen, is ultimately planned by God, or God already wrote that in the script or the book of the universe. So the universe is basically a novel book that already has happened, right? When you get a book, right, it already has that story already has happened. It's more that you need to go through the process of reading the book that makes it seem like there is, I already read page 1, I'm on page 66, and I still need to read pages 200 to 300, right? So that makes it seem like it's the past, present, and future. But really, if you look at it holistically, the book in its entirety already has happened, it's already been written. And that's how the universe is. So therefore, how can the moment be different than it is? Right? The moment, or all things that happen, Mexican tacos, Brazilian soccer players, your parents getting sick, you hurting your knee, all of these things have been written by the author of the universe. So it's actually it's our challenge as finite humans to accept and be open and say yes to all things. And I would suggest reading Jeff Foster. He's making his living on writing beautiful poetry and stories about this very topic. This is a big influence of mine is Jeff Foster. Also, if you speak Spanish, Facundo Cabral. He tells very beautiful stories about his travels around the world, and that you need to be open to the fact that everything is God, or that you can be, if you want to be happy. Right? On this channel, I don't want to say you should do anything. Really, it's about if then. So if you want to be happy, if you want to be permanently happy, if you want to be content, if you want to be healthy, then this is how that works, or like, this is how it works for me, or this is how, because I've thought about this stuff a lot, because I've been influenced by a lot of other wise people, a lot of like everything I say is from something else. So really none of this is my philosophy. It's basically what I say is has been influenced by many other wise people that have existed. So I'm really just trying to spread a word that I think makes sense. So if you like some of the things that I say, or you like some of the people I refer to, you can comment below and tell me which people those are, or what philosophies those are. And if you like videos like this, I want you to click the like button. And this weekend, I'm going to be interviewing Ishtar, or also known as Thomas Howell, and we'll be discussing really human topics, but also very esoteric topics, like what is the purpose of the universe, but also how do we live life as an imperfect human. So the wind's coming in, there might be a storm. I'll have to let you guys go there. I'll see you guys next time. Peace.